Thank you very much. Thank you for introduction. Thank you for inviting, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to be here in this wonderful place, which is the dream of every single young Georgian to study here or to come here and to see this great institution. So thank you very much. Thank you everybody who came here today and having interest in Georgian affairs. From the very beginning, I want to disclose the reason why I am here. Usually people who study in universities, certain departments especially, they are preparing themselves from some public role, becoming politicians or public servants and so on, and students or they try to go somewhere for internship and look around where to go, how they have to continue the career. I'm here in order to prepare myself for coming back to a university, to academia, to the place where we are now, because this is the place, the environment which is most closest to my character, my interests and so on. Therefore, I'm here in order to prepare myself coming back to the university. And those of you who have the privilege to work or to study here, I want to congratulate them, because probably this is one of the best possible place where a person can spend his or her life. Sorry for this nostalgic comments, but when I entered here, I remembered my university years in Duke University, where I studied, and in Tbilisi, and so on. And I also remember the classes and professors who were teaching me public policy at Duke University. And we had Professor William Asher, head of the program then. And he was teaching international development policy. And we had to read for every class, I don't know, 2-3 books or half books, and write theses and examine water supply system in Tanzania, tuna fish dispute in South America, some community projects and forestry in Australia, and so on and so on. Finally, when he finished the class and we had last session, he said, okay, you read tons of materials, you produced dozens of papers, now you go home and just forget all this. In real life, you will not have time to remember what you read in that book or what was the best practices there and here. What you remember are just concepts which will stay in your mind, and these concepts will just jump out and help you to make right decisions in difficult policy situations or political situations. So that's all how what it happened. Yeah, now I'm leading the legislative body of parliament, chairman of the parliament of Georgia, and yes, there's no time to think where this or that decision comes from, why I support this and oppose the other, or what the values and concepts lead to that. In practical life, it is so difficult to have enough time to analyze all these things. But at the same time, it is important sometimes to find the time and little bit look to the issues from different angles, from theoretical angle, from not from these practical issues. And this is another opportunity. Therefore, I am here in order to tell you certain things, what's going on in Georgia, where we are, why we are where we are, what are the perspectives, what are the challenges, but at the same time to hear from you, questions, comments, analysis, I don't know, complaints, whatever. Because sometimes we are too much busy with this day-to-day work, and then we need to somehow look to the issues from other perspective as well. So I have these two objectives today here, to let you know certain things and to hear from you most interesting aspects about Georgia, about region, and probably about the world. Because although Georgia is a small country, we are, how many now we are left in square kilometers? Probably less than 60,000, because together with the breakaway Abkhazia and South Ossetia, we are 72,000 square kilometers. it's almost North Carolina, where I studied at Duke University. The population now, well, we are 4.5 million in Georgia, and we believe that at least 1 million Georgians are abroad as well. So this is 5.5 million inhabitants of this world who call themselves Georgians. No, not Georgians, Kartveli. We call ourselves Kartveli. I see some Kartveli here. Hello. And what distinguishes us from everybody else is that we speak language which nobody else understands. And, well, there are some other languages which others do not understand, but I just visited Bulgaria. And when I was listening Bulgarian speaking, well, about 20–30% I was understanding, because it's Slavic language, and if you know Russian, you understand basic things in Bulgarian. You understand something in Polish and so on. About Georgian language, no. It's not worth spending the time there, because it's completely different language, and nobody else understands that, other than Veronica. Hello. And we write our script also, and nobody can read it, because it's very unique Georgian script. So that makes us different from the rest of the world, and probably sometimes that's why we do not understand the rest of the world, and the rest of the world do not understand us. What we want, why we are struggling in that region, and because sometimes I have this question: why you cannot find common language with Russia? What's the problem? And if you did, there will be no problem. We will be kind of united country, and so on. Probably the reason is that we are not only just 5 million, but we have at least 2,000 years of documented history. And our nation was developing in that place, currently called Georgia. And we did develop these ambitions to be a nation, and to be an independent nation, to be part of the civilization, but with our place in the civilization, with our culture, with our, and so on, everything. Because we were part of the civilization during centuries, one hardly can name a big empire or some great leader of certain ages who did not invade Georgia. We were under Mongol rules, under Arab rules, under Persian, under Turkish, under Russian, and so whatever. But we somehow survived. We kept our religion, which we adopted at the beginning of the 4th century, Christian religion. And since then we feel as part of the European civilization. Therefore, when Soviet Union was about to be broken, and Georgians did quite important contribution in that process, because in mid 80s, late 80s, when the Soviet Union was already shaken, Georgia was among the front runners who tried to become independent and so on, and we conducted very first multi-party elections among Soviet Union countries in October 1990, and Georgia was the first country where a non-communist government came to the power through the elections. So we were quite active in the process of decolonialization or desovietization or so and so on. But unfortunately, then we decided to test on ourselves all kinds of problems society can experience, starting from the civil war, economic disaster, wars with breakaway regions, and finally open war with Russia, which wounded the country a lot, of course. And then that's why we started rebuilding of our statehood several times during the last 25 years. Last big change, of course, happened about 2.5 years, when October 2012 elections saw unexpected change, but unexpected outside of Georgia. And inside of Georgia, that was long-awaited change. when after the parliamentary elections, the government led by President Saakashvili was defeated and new coalition came to the power. I myself assumed this position after those elections. Before then, I was a member of political party, Republican Party of Georgia. When I'm talking with the US politicians, and I learned that they represent Republican Party, I proudly say that, well, I'm a Republican Party member. When I'm dealing with Democrats, I'm saying that, yes, I represent the Republican Party of Georgia, but we are liberals. So that's the case. We are a liberal party. We are a member of Liberal International. And we are part of the ruling coalition called Georgian Dream. The party I represent has quite interesting history because it was founded as early as 1978 during Soviet Brezhnev era. It was underground, secret political organization, and it was kind of disseminating some samizdat, or how it was called, proclamation and so on, demanding freedom from Soviet Union, membership to NATO, and this kind of stuff. Of course, in those years, such people were viewed not only anti-Soviet cheeky, but some crazy guys as well. How one could dream then about such things. So, Soviet regime arrested them, and they spent several years in Siberia, in gulags, in special camps. And they were released only after President Reagan published or named people, while talking with the Congress, political prisoners in Soviet Union. That was in 86 or 87, 86. And in that long list of people who were serving their sentences in Soviet prisons because of their political beliefs, and among them they are founders of Georgian Republican Party. And afterwards, during those negotiations and this perestroika, Gorbachev-Reagan affairs, these people were released, and they came back, continued their political activity, and now they work in the parliament where I'm sitting here. So this is the history of this party. Why I'm telling this to you? Just to tell that for most of the largest part of the society, there's no question where Georgia should be. For generations, that was kind of very clear. We belong to European civilization, and we want to part of the European civilization. That's why we are so eager to knock on the door of the European Union all the time, although we hear from the other side that no, there's no room for you, we are already 28 subjects in one room and so on. But we will continue knocking on the door of the European Union. We made huge progress after signing the association agreement last summer, which set our policies on the way which leads to European standards in most of the cases. Well, there were jokes that why not to become 51st state of the United States. So enter to the United States or to the United Europe. So at this point we decided to join European Union for obvious reasons. But at the same time we are equally consistent on knocking the NATO door. NATO door because we need to find the security umbrella which is sustainable and which is effective enough to protect us. Because we live for last 200 years in a situation when Russia officially or unofficially or through certain means, different means, just believes that this is its territory. Our kings made one mistake. In 1783, just shortly after your revolution here, they signed an agreement with the Russian Tsar. Agreement about friendship, partnership, and protecting each other's interests. So we requested from Russia to protect us from Persian invasion, and we committed ourselves to participate in their their military campaigns against Persia or whatever. But as it is happening all the time, and last time it is happening now, after Minsk agreement about Ukraine, when Russia signs agreements just in order to violate it on the next day. So that agreement of partnership was then interpreted by Russian Tsar after about 20 years that Georgian kingdom had to be abolished. So Georgian kingdom was abolished and Georgia became part of Russia. Since then, even best intellectuals of Russia, most of them, not everybody, fortunately, interpret that as an act of love. They say that they love us so much that they don't want to let us go. Therefore, they want to protect us. They want to take care of us, and so on and so on. And that's the case. Since this history of 200 years, there were different rulers in Russia, different colors, different ideology, different model of the state, empire, then before communists there were others, and then communists, now Yeltsin, who was kind of better than Putin, seemingly. However, we lost our territories during Yeltsin rule, when we experienced a very similar deal as now is happening in eastern Ukraine. There were fights in Abkhazian region, northern, east northern, western, yeah? Northwest of Georgia. And Yeltsin and his government broke the deal. Let's separate the forces, Georgian and Abkhazian, and take out from the ground heavy artillery and tanks and so on. Yeah, and Georgians took the heavy artillery, put on the ships, and took it far away to another seaport, Batumi, about half-day journey from there by the ship. And Abkhazian heavy artillery was taken to the Russian military base in Abkhazia and stored there. On the next night, we learned that, well, Abkhazian rebels took offensive on the military base of Russia, took back their heavy artillery and started bombing Georgian military facilities there, while our weaponry was taken far away. So when we learned about this Minsk agreement and the separation of heavy artillery and so on, unfortunately, we immediately remembered our own experience, that this is just for gaining of time and momentum, and they have many other means to achieve the goal if Ukrainian army backs and so on and so on. So I'm making this comparison between the situation in order to kind of tell you what is going on in reality, and that's not just isolated issues, problems in Georgia, in Ukraine, or in Baltic states. There were attempts a few years ago. So that's why we want to become NATO member. We want to make sure that our country is secured from this kind of offenses, continuing offenses from Russia. At the same time, we do not want to drag into a war with Russia, NATO member countries. And we are not interested at all to have devastating war on our territory, where NATO and Russia are clashing to each other. No. We're just drawing some lessons from the history. And we cannot recall any situation when NATO and Russia went in war, or NATO and Soviet Union went in war. So NATO was preventive mechanism, and the areas and countries which were part of NATO were securing themselves. And Russia or Soviet Union was not able to attack them. So when we want to become NATO member, that means that to end war on our territory, not to start war on our territory or with Russia and so on. Well, I can go in details if they'll be interested about this concept. Then some people ask what to do with Article 5 of NATO Charter, which says that the other countries need to protect any member country in the situation when our two regions are occupied by Russia. And we have answers on these issues if NATO members be ready for serious negotiations about Georgian membership to NATO. We knocked NATO door as early as 2001, I guess. It was NATO summit in Prague. So then it was President Shevardnadze who was leading the country. That's another demonstration of the fact that NATO aspiration is not exclusive political concept of President Saakashvili or President Margvelashvili or Prime Minister Ivanishvili or President Shevardnadze or so on. We have at least three different governments who followed this line, and therefore it is representation of the will of Georgian people, not any political group. But yeah, situation is not easy at the moment. Unfortunately, despite this frequently repeated concept that no third country should exercise veto power over NATO enlargement, well, sometimes de facto we see that probably that's the case. We don't want to see that that's the case, but I believe the lessons of 2008 August war with Russia was best demonstration of that. If Russia is given window of opportunity, it will act. And they acted in Georgia. Now Russia had some window of opportunity about Ukraine, and they acted about Ukraine. Well, because unfortunately this last empire probably in the world still is based on the concept that stronger Russia means bigger Russia. Stronger Russia does not mean wealthier Russia or wealthier people or stronger economy or better infrastructure or higher living standards and so on. As soon as Russia feels that, well, they are stronger than they were 2 days ago, they are looking around how to become bigger, how to expand. And that desire was evident for us for years. Unfortunately, some of our friends were too optimistic about the process of democratization of Russia and then making it part of democratic world. I don't know, when a leader makes such maneuvering as Putin did, when he kind of stepped down from presidency and installed another person as president, he kept the prime ministerial position, then he came back as president. Should we still be hopeful that such leader will follow democratic standards in other fields or in other things? Or this is just this one fact is enough to conclude that, well, okay, here we are dealing with some big problem, and there will be not enough buttons to push in order to make this reset or change and so on and so on. Just this one fact already shows whom we are dealing, and there should be no illusions that yeah, things will go to better direction and so on. So these are huge issues, security issues, which bothers everything Georgian, and which is not allowing us to use our energy and our time for other things, which are real things, which people really need. And this is the economy, this is jobs, this is social security, it's more education, more and better healthcare system and so on. However, we still managed somehow to escape from the wars. And the Rose Revolution in 2003 brought a lot of energy and enthusiasm. And President Saakashvili was probably, he could compete with any current leader in energy and innovation and some. There's no small part in his soul and body which is not political. Therefore, he gave a lot of energy to some reforms. But yeah, unfortunately, he failed to prevent himself to become authoritarian ruler. And if you become such, then no matter what kind of intention you have, the end result is inevitable. And he ended there because he did not recognize or did not realize how far it went to control media, to control business, to control judiciary, to control opposition, to control local government, to control everything. And he was calling this necessary modernization, and he was saying that we do not have much time for lengthy debates in parliament. Therefore, parliament must be weakened. And opposition could be there, but not more than 15–20%. And then so and so. So this concept led to some horrible things, gross violation of human rights, and then democracy and institutions became just single individuals based and so on. After 2012, we have a very different situation. It's first time when in Georgia we have coalition government composed by different parties, and we have in the parliament strong one-party opposition in face of previous ruling party, and we have really lengthy debates in the parliament. We have a very difficult process of decision making, but that's probably parliament is. If that's not the case and 150 persons are acting as one, then why we need 150 persons in the parliament? We can have, I don't know, 3 persons and they can rule the country. So that's what is happening now. We are now in middle of very fundamental reforms in judiciary. The chairperson of the Supreme Court will be appointed by the parliament, but the process which is leading to such decision is quite unique, very transparent. The president nominated candidate out of many who were suggested and is debated by civil society and so on. And this is quite a normal process now for making such kind of decisions, which we did not have. The level of freedom of media, level of freedom of business, level of independence of judiciary is increased considerably. We conducted very first direct elections of city mayors just several months ago. Before then, it was just president who was elected directly. And for other officials, the argument was that people may make mistakes. Therefore, it's not right to give them this power to elect their city mayor. So, in case of presidential elections, people will never make mistakes. Electing mayor of the city, that's dangerous. That was the concept for many years, and now we first time broke that, and then we are electing them directly. And there's a big process of decentralization of the power system in general, because we inherited this communist system again based on the Leninist concept of democratic centralism, which suggests that democracy is good, but without centralization it is bad. And centralization in this sense meant to have the governance structure based on the example of military structure. So every additional star here means that all those who have less stars are subordinated to it. They must follow your order. So what we inherited from the Soviet Union, and what's the case in Russia, in Ukraine, in Moldova also, and in Georgia, this hierarchy that if you have a Minister of Education, that means that nobody down can exercise any exclusive discretion on educational matters. That means that higher person can overrule everything what is decided by the lower person. In such situation, you cannot talk about some exclusive rights of municipalities or university autonomy, or I don't know, other things where, yeah, lower structures, lower level structures have some fields. Well, is this the tree on the right here, or we should put it here? Well, if minister says it must be here. So this kind of system was is in the heads of the people, unfortunately. Therefore, we are still dealing with such diseases of communism, which are deeply rooted. And I'm finding this disease in the young people as well, who never lived during communism. They were born in free Georgia, but it still comes there. It's a similar thing about multi-party democracy. We tried from early 90s to establish multi-party democracy. But what we established was multi-communist party democracy. Because none of them was calling itself as communist party, but the concept was the same, that we have the monopoly on truth, and all the others are enemies of the state. Unfortunately, we hear this concept, enemy of state, in current Georgia as well. When somebody disagrees your opinion and you represent the power system or government or state, you are against me, you are against state. So this monopoly on truth and this democratic centralism and so on, it is of course huge obstacle in the minds of the people and the minds of society for giving way to democratic institutions when those institutions are set in order to function and individuals change, but it's not just change of everything. So we are in the middle of these multi challenges from different angles. Now we face some financial problems or currency issues, because in every single country around Georgia, the currency lost 30-35% during 1 month or so. Nothing to say about Georgia. I'm talking about Azerbaijan, Armenia, Turkey, other countries in neighborhood, Ukraine in special case, Russia. And these economies are of course interdependent, and it was major factor which contributed to devaluation of Georgian currency, which is leading to more skeptical prognosis about the GDP growth rate, which will lead to some cuts in the budgetary expenses and so on, and that's additional problem. Although we must be ready in the future for such uncertainties, because on one hand, of course, we support the sanctions which the West imposed against Russia, and we believe more should be done. But these sanctions are hurting not only Russia, but the surrounding region as well. So these are additional issues and problems. And finally, why we are here? We are here in order to let to our American friends that our strategic friendship is there, and we believe that in these difficult moments, and it's not Georgia who is in a difficult situation, now only a lot of things depend on the decisions of the administration of the United States, and this responsibility is growing as the problems are growing. Therefore, we want to tell to our friends that we are reliable and predictable partners there in South Caucasus. We continue our cooperation with NATO forces in Afghanistan, and we are ready to contribute whatever we can. But at the same time, we want to remind everybody that the horrible things which are happening in Ukraine is not happening in Ukraine only. Georgia is part of this big problem, and everybody should remember that. And some additional energy and dynamism in this partnership is necessary in all levels. I'm glad to see that we have same understanding of the issues and problems. We already met with the high-level representatives in the State Department. We will continue meetings on Capitol Hill, and we will meet with many others. And I believe we will better schedule our immediate actions for benefit of both countries and of the region. So that's probably I wanted to tell you, and I'm ready.
That's great. That's a very comprehensive overview of all of the problems.